The 1980s brought some of the most jaw-dropping, high-performance cars to the road, and today, we're diving into the rarest of them all. These are the cars that made heads turn, broke speed records, and were so exclusive that owning one today is like having a piece of expensive artwork. Buckle up, because you're about to witness the rarest American cars from the 80s, where performance meets rarity in a way that only the 80s could deliver. 15. 1989. Chrysler TC by Maserati. Did you know Chrysler and Maserati teamed up to create a luxury coupe? Talk about an unlikely duo! The Chrysler TC by Maserati was an interesting blend of American muscle and Italian elegance, and it's one of the rarest gems from the 1980s. With just 7,300 units produced over 3 years, spotting one today is like finding a 4-leaf clover. Under the hood, you could find either a 2.2-liter turbocharged inline-4 or a 3.0-liter V6, depending on the year. The turbocharged version with a 16-valve head, co-developed with Cosworth, packed a surprising punch for its time. The design was Maserati's doing, featuring a hand-stitched leather interior, wood accents, and a removable hardtop with porthole windows. The body, however, had a familiar Chrysler look, leading to some mixed reviews. Critics called it a fancy LeBaron, but enthusiasts knew better. The handling leaned toward comfort rather than sportiness, perfect for long drives along the coast. What makes it rare? Low production numbers and the unique collaboration between Chrysler and Maserati. It was a car ahead of its time, but never truly found its audience. 14. 1987. Zimmer Golden Spirit. This neoclassic masterpiece was built for those who thought the 1980s weren't flashy enough. Designed to resemble luxury cars of the 1920s, the Golden Spirit featured a stretched hood, exposed spare tires, and more chrome than a truckload of bumpers. The base was a Ford Mustang, meaning it had a reliable 5.0-liter V8 engine under all that extravagance. The interior was draped in leather, with custom wood paneling and a sound system that was state-of-the-art for the time. Each car was hand-assembled, which explains the low production numbers. Around 1,500 were made. Its rarity lies in its niche appeal. This was a car for the rich and flamboyant, the kind of people who'd wear sunglasses indoors. While critics often dismissed it as gaudy, owners loved the attention it brought. Today, it's a rare collector's item, a relic of an era that celebrated individuality with no regard for subtlety. 13. 1985 Oldsmobile 442. The 442 stands for 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual, and dual exhaust. Cool, right? Except by 1985, only the exhaust part was still true. The Oldsmobile 442 was a muscle car trying to find its footing in an era of emissions regulations and rising gas prices. By 1985, it was more about style and heritage than raw performance. Still, its 5.0-liter V8 engine produced a respectable 180 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission. The design was all about attitude. Bold stripes, unique badging, and a sleek notchback roofline made it stand out in a crowd of boxy sedans. The handling wasn't groundbreaking, but it was stable and comfortable, ideal for cruising rather than drag racing. What makes it rare is the dwindling interest in muscle cars during the 1980s, which meant fewer 442s were sold. 12th. 1983. Chrysler Imperial Frank Sinatra Edition. This car came with 16 cassette tapes of Frank Sinatra's greatest hits. Imagine a road trip serenaded by Old Blue Eyes himself. The 1983 Chrysler Imperial. Frank Sinatra Edition wasn't just a car, it was a tribute to a legend. Chrysler created this limited edition luxury sedan with Sinatra's blessing, and only 271 were made. Each car came in glacier blue, a color inspired by Sinatra's iconic nickname, the Chairman of the Board. Under the hood, it had a 5.2-liter V8 engine, which wasn't exactly sporty, but it delivered smooth cruising. The Imperial's digital dashboard was futuristic for its time, featuring LED displays that wowed anyone lucky enough to sit inside. The plush leather seats, embroidered with Sinatra's signature, made you feel like a VIP. The rarity of this car comes from its very specific target audience, Frank Sinatra fans with deep pockets. It wasn't a massive sales success, but its unique theme made it unforgettable. 11. 1986 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe. The Aero Coupe was created so NASCAR drivers could gain an edge on the track. Spoiler alert, it worked. The 1986 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe is one of the rarest production cars from the 80s, with only 200 units built for public sale. Why so few? Chevy designed this version purely to meet NASCAR's homologation rules, which required at least 200 street-legal cars to be made. The Aero Coupe's unique feature was its sloped rear window, designed to improve aerodynamics. This gave it a sleek, fastback profile that set it apart from the standard Monte Carlo SS. Powered by a 5.0-liter V8 engine producing 180 horsepower, it wasn't a rocket, but it was quick enough to feel sporty. Inside, the car was all about comfort, with plush bucket seats and a dashboard that wrapped around the driver. Handling was sharp for a car of its size, thanks to performance-tuned suspension. What makes it rare is its purpose. It was a loophole to dominate NASCAR. If you love rare cars, hit that like button and share this video with fellow car enthusiasts. 10. 1981 AMC Eagle SX/4. The AMC Eagle SX/4 is considered the first ever crossover. Yep, it was way ahead of its time. The 1981 AMC Eagle SX/4 wasn't your typical 80s car. It was a two-door hatchback with all-wheel drive, a combination unheard of back then. AMC built it to tackle all kinds of weather and terrain, making it a true trailblazer in automotive design. Under the hood, the SX/4 came with a 4.2-liter inline-six engine, which provided decent power for a car its size. While not a speed demon, it was reliable and versatile. Its raised suspension and all-wheel drive system made it surprisingly capable for a car that looked more like a sporty coupe than a rugged machine. The design was quirky, with a sloping roofline and bold color options that screamed, "Look at me!" The interior was practical, with enough room for a small family or a weekend adventure. The rarity of the SX/4 lies in its limited production and its groundbreaking concept. 9. 1985 Merkur XR4T. The Merkur XR4T wasn't just a mouthful to say, it was also Ford's attempt to sell a German sports sedan to Americans who couldn't pronounce its name. The Merkur XR4T was imported from Germany and sold under a made-up brand called Merkur, which means Mercury in German. Ford aimed to bring European flair to the US market, but only 42,464 units were sold between 1985 and 1989, making it rare by any measure. Powered by a turbocharged 2.3-liter inline-4 engine, it churned out 175 horsepower, a solid number for the 80s. The car's unique two-tier rear spoiler and slanted hatchback design gave it a distinct look. Inside, it featured Recaro-style seats, an array of gauges, and a feel that screamed European sophistication. The XR4T's handling was sharp, thanks to its rear-wheel drive setup and independent suspension. It was a driver's car, but the Merkur brand never caught on in America. Most buyers were baffled by the name and skeptical of the quirky styling. Today, the XR4 Ti is a hidden gem. 1986 Ford RS 200 Homologation. The Ford RS 200 could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, making it faster than many supercars of its time. The Ford RS 200 is a rally legend and one of the rarest cars from the 1980s. Built to compete in Group B rally racing, only 200 street legal versions were made to meet homologation requirements. These cars were essentially race cars with license plates. Under the hood was a 1.8-liter turbocharged inline-4 engine producing 250 horsepower in the road version, but rally variants could make up to 450 horsepower. The RS 200 had a lightweight fiberglass body, all-wheel drive, and a mid-engine layout, giving it exceptional balance and grip on tricky terrain. The design was aggressive, with wide fenders, massive vents, and a short, stubby profile. The interior was sparse but functional, as weight savings were the priority. Handling was razor-sharp, designed for twisting rally stages, but driving it on regular roads was like walking a tiger on a leash. Its rarity comes from its limited production and the short-lived Group B era. 7. 1987 Ford Mustang McLaren M81. This Mustang was so exclusive that it cost $25,000 in 1980, almost twice the price of a standard Mustang GT. The Ford Mustang McLaren M81 was a bold experiment to create a high-performance, limited-edition Mustang. Ford collaborated with McLaren, yes, the same McLaren known for F1 cars, to produce just 249 units, making it one of the rarest Mustangs ever built. Under the hood, it featured a turbocharged 2.3-liter inline-4 engine, producing 175 horsepower. Not a monster, but respectable for its time. The car had a custom body kit with flared fenders, unique spoilers, and lightweight aluminum wheels. Its bright orange paint made it impossible to ignore. The interior was upgraded with custom Recaro seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, and special McLaren badging. The handling was tuned for precision, with improved suspension and brakes to match its sporty appearance. Despite its exclusivity and performance, the M81 was a tough sell. Its high price and unconventional design didn't appeal to mainstream Mustang buyers. 6. 1987 Buick GNX. The 1987 Buick GNX wasn't just rare, it was legendary. Only 547 units were made, and each was faster than almost anything on the road. Buick teamed up with McLaren, yes, the same McLaren from Formula One, to turn the already impressive Grand National into a rocket on wheels. Under the hood was a 3.8-liter turbocharged V6, producing 276 horsepower, though rumors suggest it was closer to 300. This wasn't just about straight-line speed either. The GNX featured upgraded suspension and a reinforced rear axle to handle all that power. It could hit 60 miles per hour in just 4.6 seconds. Mind-blowing for the 80s. Its design screamed menace. Blacked out everything, wide tires, and functional vents. The interior was simple, focusing on the driver's experience with a dash-mounted turbo boost gauge and leather-wrapped steering wheel. The GNX's was fast, expensive, and unapologetically aggressive. Today, finding one is like stumbling upon a piece of treasure, and if it's untouched, you're looking at a six-figure collectible. 5. 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am 20th Anniversary Edition. This car borrowed the engine from the Buick Grand National and became one of the fastest Trans Ams ever. Pontiac celebrated the Trans Am's 20th birthday in style, creating the Turbo Trans Am 20th Anniversary Edition. Only 1,555 were built, and under the hood sat a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 that made 250 horsepower. What's more, this car was faster than many V8-powered muscle cars of the time. Its design was subtle but purposeful, with a clean white paint job, gold wheels, and special anniversary badging. While it wasn't flashy, it had the aerodynamics to back up its performance. The interior featured high-back bucket seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, and all the gauges you'd need to keep track of the turbo's boost. It even came with T-tops, adding a bit of flair to the experience. What makes it rare is the combination of low production numbers and its connection to the Buick GNX's engine. It was a one-year-only model, making it a must-have for Trans Am collectors. 4. 1984 Dodge Omni GLH. The GLH in its name stood for Goes Like Hell, and Dodge wasn't kidding around. The Dodge Omni GLH was Carroll Shelby's idea of turning an economy car into a street terror. Starting with a basic Dodge Omni, Shelby worked his magic to create one of the quickest compact cars of the 1980s. The GLH was rare enough, but the real unicorn is the 1986 GLHS, with only 500 units ever made. The Omni GLH featured a 2.2-liter turbocharged engine, producing 146 horsepower. While that might not sound like much today, the car weighed under 2,200 pounds, making it ridiculously quick for its size. It could outrun some V8 muscle cars, leaving drivers scratching their heads. The design was as no-nonsense as it gets, boxy, practical, and completely unassuming. The only hints of its performance were the GLH badges and sporty wheels. Inside, it was all business, with a basic but functional layout. The rarity of the Omni GLH comes from its unexpected performance. Nobody expected a compact car to go like hell, and that's exactly why it stands out. 3. 1981 DeLorean DMC-12. If you think the DeLorean DMC-12 is rare, imagine finding one with a functioning flux capacitor. Spoiler, it doesn't exist. The DeLorean DMC-12 is probably one of the most iconic cars of the 1980s, thanks to its starring role in Back to the Future. But even without the time travel fame, this car was destined to be a rare gem. Only about 9,000 units were ever made, and fewer than 6,000 are believed to exist today. Underneath its stainless steel body panels, the DMC-12 featured a 2.85-liter V6 engine producing 130 horsepower. While that's not much by today's standards, its futuristic design made up for it. The gull-wing doors, brushed steel finish, and sleek lines looked straight out of a sci-fi movie. Literally. The DMC-12's handling wasn't particularly sharp, but that didn't matter. This car wasn't about speed. Its rarity stems from the short-lived DeLorean Motor Company, which went bankrupt in 1982. Today, the DMC-12 is a cultural artifact. 2. 1989 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. The Corvette ZR1 was nicknamed the King of the Hill, and for good reason, it crushed nearly everything in its path. The 1989 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 wasn't your average vet. Chevrolet partnered with Lotus to create a car that could take on the best Europe had to offer. The result was a masterpiece of American engineering with just 84 pre-production models made in 1989. At its heart was a 5.7-liter LT 5V8 engine designed by Lotus and built by Mercury Marine. It pumped out 375 horsepower and could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.5 seconds. For the late 80s, that was mind-blowing. The ZR1 looked similar to a standard Corvette, but featured a wider rear end, unique wheels, and subtle badging. Inside, it was all about the driver, with a digital dashboard and advanced climate controls that felt high-tech for the era. What makes the 1989 ZR1 special is its exclusivity. These pre-production models were never sold to the public, making them some of the rarest Corvettes ever. 1. 1987 Vector W8. The Vector W8 was so rare that it made Lamborghinis look common. Only 19 were ever produced. The 1987 Vector W8 was the car that dared to dream. Built by Vector Aeromotive, this hypercar was a blend of aerospace engineering and insane performance. It wasn't just rare, it was practically a unicorn. Powered by a twin-turbocharged 5.7-liter V8, the W8 cranked out a jaw-dropping 625 horsepower, allowing it to hit 60 miles per hour in just 4.2 seconds. It claimed a top speed of 242 miles per hour, which was unheard of in the 1980s. Its design was straight out of a sci-fi movie, with sharp angles, pop-up headlights, and a cockpit-like interior. The dash was covered in buttons and digital displays, making you feel more like a pilot than a driver. The rarity of the Vector W8 comes down to its exclusivity and price. At $450,000, it was one of the most expensive cars of its time. Got thoughts on these legendary rides? Drop a comment below, and let's chat about your favorite 80s car. Don't miss out on more amazing car content. Subscribe and join the ride.